All right. Looping, or also known as agent swarms, is particularly powerful because it lets you like parallelize your agents. So like with a loop, you could run the same agent, 100 times at once, 1,000 times at once, and etc. And essentially, like what a loop is just it just lets you do the same thing to a bunch of items at once. And like you could think of it as like, say you have like an Excel formula and you're like dragging like a column down and like applying some mass formula to a bunch of different items at the same time. It's identical kind of concept when you're using loops with inside Lindy, except instead of it being a formula, it's like an AI agent that you can give infinite degrees of freedom to build what you want inside of that loop. Like if you code or you're a software engineer, you probably for loop is kind of like the basic primitive that it's built off, but it's like a lot more powerful because this actually like agentized inside of the loop as well. And there's a few situations when you want to use loops in particular. Like if you ever have a list of things, like if I ever have a long list of things, like maybe I have 100 emails, or I guess an example right now is like we have, I think we're just exceeded 400 signups for our hackathon. We got to open up the wait list, but maybe I want to go through and enrich all of these contacts and information and like find information about them. I could pass all of their emails within a loop through that spreadsheet. Or another example is just like whenever you want to apply the same action to the same theme. So using the same example, it's like, hey, maybe I want to like enrich and add those emails to our CRM with enriched information, and that's like a very similar pattern. And so it's like looping lets me do the same thing to all 400 of those people at the exact same time. Looping configuration, I think, can be another thing that can be a little intimidating at first. So bear with me just for a little bit, and then right after this, we're going to be building a really simple looping agent and really break this all down for you guys. But whenever there's a looping, there's like four main inputs or ways to configure. First, like the interloop, so the items to loop through, the max cycles, max concurrent, and output. And so I know that's kind of throwing a lot at you, but we're going to go through each one real quick. So items to loop through, it's really just like what are we entering in the loop? And so this is deciding what do I want to loop through. And this the case I just said, it's like, hey, we want to loop to these emails, or we want to loop to these rows of the spreadsheet. And so your input list, you can also like all these things within Lindy, you can prompt it, you can keep it manual, or you can leave it to be auto. So I could throw Lindy the spreadsheet and it would automatically like probably know, hey, I want to loop through all these rows. But if I want to be like really safe in the situation, I could set it to manual, use my Excel, get spreadsheet row output reference, and it'll like automatically loop through all of those. Or like another example is I could use the prompt mode and just say, hey, for each contact in the spreadsheet. So it's very dynamic depending on however you want to configure this, and it's like super flexible. I recommend always just being as specific as possible. Max cycles is more of like kind of like a safety limit. So it's like how many times, like what's my max number of loops I want to run at the same time. I usually like use this most often when I'm testing, like set max like 2 or 3. So like whenever I run tests, I'm not actually burning through my list of like 1,000 just to save credit. So like always set the safety limit of the max cycles to lower just when you're testing. I'm going to scale it up as you're ready. Max concurrent is just like how many times at the same time. How many times do you like say I'm enriching 100 people? Do I want to enrich all 100 at once? Do I want to constrain it to like one at a time and it'll like just run one after the other? So it's just really how many times, or what's the max number of loops and workflows inside, and agents inside that you want to run at the same time. Some situations where you may want to constrain the max concurrency is like if you're using some sort of action or like an API request that has like a really low rate limit. And so it's like, hey, like I just threw 1,000 things at this. I'm gonna hit a rate limit and something might break. That's when it's like, okay, let's just constrict this to like 5, and I know it's never gonna hit the limit. And so that's like one area. Like another use case could be like for deduping. So it's like say there's like I'm processing this large list of emails and there might be some duplicates and I have like a duplicate checker. I probably don't want to make that all happening at the same time. Like let's shrink the number that happen at the same time so I can run like a deduplicate check as it's running through. And then the output is just like the items to loop through. It's really just like what do we want to leave the loop. So whatever you do inside the loop is only remembered within that same loop. So if you look at the right in this like purple mesh, whatever happens inside the purple mesh stays inside the purple mesh, except for what you decide to put into the purple mesh and what you want to put out of the purple mesh. And so you can define this with like auto mode, or I use prompt mode a lot, and I'm like very specific, like, hey, you enrich all these people, like please give me their like job title, their background, like any company news, like give it like a list of things, like be specific with what you want to exit the loop, because that's going to get passed through to the rest of your Lindy. Then that's like what the Lindy will remember when it's doing things in the future. Best practices whenever you're building with loops. You want to always like test with 2 or 3 items, like test small, don't burn your credits. And like specific prompting on the inputs and outputs is like most important. Like a lot of times when I see people make mistakes with loops, it's really just configuring what they move in, what they move out, and remembering that what happens inside the purple mesh is only remembered inside the purple mesh. You got to be specific of what comes in and out. Now we're going to build a daily calendar prep, and with that, we're going to walk through all these looping concepts we just talked about. It's going to be really easy and fast. And by the end of this, like all those confusing things we just talked about looping, I promise will all be clicking and much easier to understand.